Good afternoon, happy Sunday. Welcome in Dbacks fans to another exciting episode of some regular season Dbacks dispatch. It's been so long, it feels like, since we've been able to actually do a series recap here, and we are finally back. Unfortunately, it wasn't the way that we wanted to be back, but we'll definitely dive into our thoughts there. Before we kind of go over the series and everything, as always, we want to welcome in everybody here, whether you're a returning listener viewer or if you're the first time in here. We appreciate you guys nonetheless. Make sure you guys follow us on all socials: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Our Discord is absolutely free. You don't have to pay a single cent in there. Love to have you guys join in there. Keep it family friendly. We do got some Dodger trolls in there. We can, especially if it's crews, you can talk a little shit here and there, but we're keeping it light in there. So reminder on that. Make sure you guys also go over to azsnakepit.com and check out all the great content over there. There's a lot of great writing, a lot of great community over there. I think you guys would enjoy it, so make sure you guys create an account. Join the discussions on everything that we got over there, and you guys can join in the fun there. Especially our man Joshua puts out a lot of great articles over there as well. He just put out a fantastic one right on opening day that I really thought was a really, really solid article. I think a lot of us can kind of have the same kind of feelings on. And then, like I said, follow us on Twitter, especially if you guys haven't seen any of those couple games on Twitter. Gabe already cooking up some bangers. Josh already cooking up some bangers, so you guys know where to be. Try to, especially in a series like that, you got to try to laugh your way through kind of what we saw here to open up the season. But you know what? Like I said, not the way we wanted to start the season, but regular season baseball is back. I'm just excited to be able to actually do these series recaps and have actual D-backs baseball to talk about. And we'll just kind of rip the Band-Aid off. Obviously, we got swept by the Los Angeles Avengers. Unfortunately, we could not have these losses be deferred in another 10 years, so we get these up front. These are our signing bonuses. Game one was an absolute, I know, close early on there, but turned into an absolute blowout. D-backs went ahead earlier. Perdomo hit a two-run blast, the first D-back home run and RBI driven on the year there. So Frogdomo continuing his all-star worthy campaign last year and MVP worthy campaign from last year into this year. He went 2 for 3 with a single and a home run. Gallen was not horrible. He was pretty solid through his first 4 innings, but then kind of like what we see with him every now and then, just really hit a big speed bump there in the fifth inning. Gave up, I think, all 4 of his runs there, even including the 3 home run to Andy Pajes. Finished with a line of 4 innings, 5 hits, 2 walks, 2 Ks with those 4 earned. Taylor Clark out of the bullpen, like he's the one guy in the bullpen in this series that kind of shit the bed the most. Obviously, we're already only down by 2, so you want to keep the game close. And the Dodgers, it just got out of hand out of that point. He only went a third of an inning there, and he gave up 4 earned runs, including a double and a home run. And then Jordan Lawler, at least another bright side in that game there. He had a double in his first AB off Yamamoto, so if we can get him going there. I think he also made a really solid play. I can't remember if it was in game 1 or game 2. They kind of all just blended together, but he looked pretty solid here in the first series. So game 1, a big L to the Dodgers, 8-2 there. But you know what? You got to bounce back. Looked like they could potentially do that in game 2 there. The D-backs did lead in every single one of these games this series, which is a little unfortunate. But Alek Thomas continued his hot bat from the World Baseball Classic and spring training. He had 2 doubles in this game. One of them could have been triple, but he overslid the bag, unfortunately, there and got tagged out. Ketel Marte had his first home run of the season, a 107-mile-an-hour off the bat, a 391-foot laser beam. Just absolutely pissed on the ball. Love to see Ketel hitting the ball hard once again. Nelly was another one, kind of like Gallen, where he was pretty solid there, but struggled in the 3rd inning instead of the 5th like Gallen. This one was the 3rd with him. Had 30-plus pitches in that inning, really labored. He himself, even afterwards, said that he was just trying to throw too many perfect pitches in situations, but finished with a line of 4 2/3. 2 hits, which, again, surprisingly only 2 hits, but the 3 walks is pretty much what killed him that inning. 4 strikeouts, 4 earned runs with 2 home runs surrendered, so a little bit leaving a few pitches over the middle there. The Dodgers and the deepest lineup in the sport was able to put their hurting on him. Loaizaga in his D-backs debut, and then Ryan Thompson, they were pretty solid, combined for 2 1/3 inning. So again, the bullpen, not the greatest, but there are at least some bright spots here and there. And then I thought that the terrorist third base coach was let go last year, but it turns out you can kill the man, but not the terrorist ideas. And a horrible send Pavin Smith, and he was out by a mile at home on a relay. I mean, a good relay by the Dodgers, but you should know that no matter, unless it's Corbin Carroll or Alek Thomas, you don't send that person home in that situation. So killed the rally there. Pavin Smith was tagged out, like not even close at home. Just base running in general in the series was a little bit sloppy. I know that one's more on the third base coach for doing the send, but overall the base running was just really sloppy in this one, definitely not D-backs-esque. And then in game 3, D-backs tried to at least salvage something and avoid the sweep. Erod, our hopes were on him, and he looked like the World Baseball Class Erod. He went 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, 5 Ks and only 1 run, which was unearned. The 5 through 8 spots in the lineup in this game pretty much no-showed. I feel like they didn't even bring it back. They went 0 for 14. So Arenado, Thomas, Santana, McCann combined 0 for 14 in the game there. Joe Ross, another solid, debut as a D-back there. Again, we need anything we can in the bullpen. Juan Murillo, the name that obviously I know has been up and down in his tenure as a D-back. He was the one that did surrender the 2-run go-ahead bomb to Will Smith. Looked like it would have been a nice, clean inning there. Got the first 2 outs really quickly, but then gave up a walk to Mookie Betts. Then obviously the best catcher in baseball, Will Smith. Great at bat there. 7th pitch of the at bat, just took a fastball in the top of the zone there, out, and then the D-backs just ninth inning, back-to-back nights, can't really get much going against Edwin Diaz. That's why they pay him all the millions that they do. But Dodgers do actually sweep. I know our man Sugan here is happy. Suge's one of the good Dodger fans out there though. He'll chirp and he'll talk some shit, but he's not a bandwagon. He's not an annoying Dodger fan. Which is always nice. But yeah, his boys take the series there. All 3 D-backs come home without a single win under their belt, which is unfortunate. But you know what? New series ahead of us. What are your thoughts in general? I know we got some questions and all that we'll kind of dive into, going over some specifics here in the series. But thoughts in general on what we saw, maybe a few things that kind of stuck out to you a little bit, and maybe what you wanted to get some quick thoughts on here before we get into our questions.
I think overall, the games went exactly how I thought they would. It wasn't the podcast with you, but I think it was with Brandon, where I basically mentioned like the offense has to score 9 runs in order for this team to stay somewhat competitive, just because the starting pitching we knew was going to be consistent. The bullpen we knew wasn't going to be very good, and for the most part, the offense. I know we have certain trust on some guys, but that bottom half of the offense is just, they're not going to get it done the same way, when we had Gino and Naylor and before with Jock, like you had guys that you knew were going to get hits. And like you mentioned, the what did you say, it was 5 through 8 guys?
Yeah, 5 through 8.
0 for 14. And before that, Arenado has 1 hit and 9 at-bats. No, it's 10 at-bats, I think. Arenado has 10 at-bats, 1 for 10 or 1 for 11. And then Santana 0 for 9. So they're just having very uncompetitive at-bats. They're just not hitting. They're not walking. They're just going up there and swinging out of their shoes and striking out or grounding out, whatever it is. They're just not making much contact. But it's what we talked about when we got both of them. It was just we knew it was going to be a pretty big downgrade offensively because, both of them are coming off of 600 OPS seasons. Like, they're not getting younger. They're not getting better offensively. Arenado and Santana, they probably both will come around and eventually start hitting, but who knows how long that's going to take. And against a team like the Dodgers with the pitching that they have, is just they're going to be overmatched against them, at least for this part of the series or season. But yeah, just for the most part, I think the offense looked pretty dead. Like Corbin Carroll is clearly not right now, and so it's showing on the field or I guess at the plate. Just no real power, just too much swing and miss, just, not hitting the ball well. But again, he just had a super limited spring training. So a part of me wishes maybe they would have put Waldschmidt up and just sent Corbin down for a couple of rehab starts, for a week or two, just to get as many at-bats as possible so he can come back, something like they're going to do with Merrill Kelly. But I understand why they made the move to keep Carroll up instead of sending him down for some rehab starts. But yeah, it's kind of what I expected. Again, bullpen. Like, I know the Diamondback media spin machine is working overtime right now with every known writer and media personality all tweeting at the same time about how, well, actually there's some good takeaways and the bullpen is not as bad as we all thought. It's as bad as we thought. We lost 2 games because of the bullpen, and in 1 game that didn't help at all. But overall, this team is not going to be able to win if they're not scoring at least 5 runs a game, whereas the bullpen, starting pitching, or even the offense, they have to get to 5 runs in, and then you might have a chance, or else you're going to be seeing a lot of these 1-run losses like we've been seeing. And again, there is some good to take away. We'll talk about it later. Like, there's some guys who are looking really good so far, but overall, it was a sweep that I think all of us expected and weren't surprised about.
Yes, it's definitely something that I think a lot of us, even looking at the first 6 games, expected at most like 2 wins. Obviously, sweep not ideal, but at least the games were close. And then in regards to the media and again, I don't get me wrong. There are some times where, especially when it comes to baseball, like this is the one franchise in Arizona sports where the media will actually like defend more than anything else. Where every other team they seem to like trash the players and criticize them way heavily. Like the Suns and the Cardinals seems like they'll just basically go for the throat. At least in this one, again, there were some pretty rough performances. I'm not gonna lie. There's not really a super lockdown. We still don't like the construction of the bullpen. I mean, I do think there is at least, going against the best lineup in baseball, the fact that outside of Taylor Clark, the bullpen in its entirety has a sub 3 ERA. I think is at least a solid thing to look at. I mean, hey, if you're going to be thrown to the fire with a bullpen that we have a lot of question marks to start off the season, going up against that lineup there, having a sub 3 ERA, which the amount of innings they had to pitch in, I mean, only one pitcher went past 5 innings here, and that was Erod. So the bullpen was used heavily. And again, there are some big question marks there. I'm not saying that I have a lot of trust in them. I don't think that they're going to be. I wouldn't classify them as great. I just think that off the rip, it's not as bad as it might seem on the surface. Just a few guys here and there that definitely looked worse than it was. Obviously, the because me and Brandon were talking about it, I think technically only really one blown game. I know Kevin Ginkel allowed that go-ahead run. To me, that's not really the bullpen blowing it. I think that's, we talked about earlier, it's kind of more on the offense itself, not being able to put up more runs throughout the game. But obviously, yesterday, Juan Murillo, he did technically, well, not even technically, he did blow that game with the go-ahead home run. But we'll definitely dive into it a little bit more, but I think it's not as bad. It's definitely not great. Definitely still some concerns, but I think I do can see where they're getting some of these, points of like, hey, you know what, like 3 games, not ideal. Could have been much worse. If the bullpen's as bad as also we're expecting, it could have been like an MLB show rookie against the Rockies where they're putting up like 12 runs on the bullpen there. But Brandon, going on to you, my friend. After seeing what we saw here in the first 3 games here, whether it's on the pitching side, the offensive side, maybe like in the field, whether it's defense or even on the base paths. What are a few thoughts and a few things that kind of stuck out to you here for some quick thoughts?
Starting pitching was exactly kind of what I was thinking it was going to be against this juggernaut of a Dodgers lineup. Like, they're going to do decent, but that second time through the lineup, they're going to struggle. And that's what happened really in all three. Gallen, that second time through, gave up that home run to Andy Paez, tried to throw that knuckle curve and just didn't get it low enough. Nelly had that really rough third inning, 30 plus pitches. That's never a good sign, especially early in the season. Like, I was surprised like he didn't like he wasn't removed in the fourth inning because of that high pitch count. We saw with Paul Skeens on opening day. He threw 30 pitches in the first inning, and he didn't even make it out of the first inning. So I thought maybe they might pull Nelly quickly after that. I was pleased with Erod. I was really glad that what he'd been doing in that WBC final, he was able to continue. He looked really good. Offense looked great early in all 3 games, and then they go cold for 3 or 4 innings, which you can't do against a team of this caliber. You just can't. It was great that they scored first in all 3 games, but you gotta play. You gotta be competitive the entire game, not just the first 3 or 4 innings. And then you brought it up that middle of the lineup, like basically after Gabby, like 5 to 8 hasn't looked great. Nolan Arenado has a lot of whiff. He's had a lot so far. Like, he had the one hit. I think that was on Thursday. And then
He has some golden
Santana.
sombrero on Friday too.
Yeah, yeah, that one was tough. Also, I want to talk about Peacock on Thursday. Jesus Christ, that was unbearable to watch. That was so bad. It was a Dodgers love fest. And when the game got out of hand, it was just basically, okay, let's just listen to Clayton Kershaw.
Dude,
Which I don't have an issue
insufferable.
with Clayton Kershaw, but national broadcast I thought was supposed to be impartial. It
Or as
was
impartial as you possibly can.
and anytime and Gabe tweeted it out. Anytime Gonzo tried to bring up anything about the D-backs, it was like, what are you doing? Like, it was bad. So I'm glad it was only one game. I hope we don't have a lot of national broadcasts, or if they are, just be against teams we're pretty close on. Jordan Lawler made that fantastic play, and like you said, I couldn't remember if that was Thursday or Friday, but that was a spectacular catch that he made there in left field against the fence. And he had an at bat on Friday where he got like three sweepers in a row and he laid off of them, and I thought that was a major improvement to see out of him, being able to s- stay back and not swing at that spin because that's his weakness.
Yeah, and like I know the at bat against Edwin Diaz, especially if you're just looking at the like the box score and like the pitches and all that. I know two fastballs kind of down the middle he just saw, but against a pitcher like Diaz with like that kind of movement, especially when the pitch before strike three was a front door slider, like that's I mean, hey, good hitters get frozen sometimes. I mean, I've even seen like future Hall of Famers like Otani, Judge, Trout, Goldie, like even like Gonzo back in the day, like hitters all every now and then, like sometimes pitchers generally fool hitters. It could look like you're a pitch right in the middle where it's like, oh, dude, how are you not swinging at that? If you look at the entire at bat and the sequencing, I could see how he kind of probably got froze on that. But yeah, so I think that's a great point on Lawler and the already seeing the early adjustments to the breaking pitches, being able to actually lay off of them and not have to worry about him going and chasing those. I know that again there was one against I think Trinan, who did get him to chase on a sweeper, but again that's another guy that he's got some insanely disgusting stuff. I mean that sweeper and sinker, like I don't know how anybody makes contact with those kind of movements on any pitches in general in the league, but so it makes baseball in my opinion the toughest sport out there is because you actually gotta you can be the best athlete like in the entire team, but if you can't put bats a ball, you're not gonna really be doing much going to be doing much for the squad here. But before we kind of dive into our questions, I did want to obviously bring up some of the comments in the chat here because again, this isn't just us being a three-person conversation. We'd love to have you guys get involved as well. So any of the things we talk about, if you guys have thoughts as well or any questions and all that, feel free to let us know in the chat. Or if you're listening to this after the fact on Spotify, Apple, wherever it is, make sure you guys join the Discord as well. Or if you don't have Discord and you're on social media, you can always tag us. You guys can go in the Discord, ask us your question, just in the general discussion, whatever it is. If you have any questions and all that, and just want to get in the discussion, make sure you guys hop in. Again, that's what we're trying to do here, make it a community where it's everyone's involved, and it's not just us three up here, just talking with each other. So I know Justin Huddleston was saying DFA Murillo send Ginkel down to AAA if they can't pitch in a close game, which again I know especially Ginkel in the last year or two has been rough, but I mean we know that he does have the stuff to be clutch. I mean 2023 he was one of our best pitchers in that bullpen.
I want to bring up Ginkgo really quick. The hit that he gave up to Tucker, again, it is Tucker, but that thing was at 93 miles an hour, and the whole time he was throwing about 93, 94. So that's a pretty big concern on my end, just because he doesn't have the same sort of not just velocity, but the arm angle. Like Seawald, you're like, all right, you get the funky angle from it. You can see him getting away with 93 sometimes, but with Ginkgo, it's just kind of just a straight up fastball that he's throwing, and if he's throwing at 93, we might get into some trouble going down the road. And like I said, in spring he was not throwing 97, 98 like we saw before. I know you brought up 2023, but there he was pumping gas, 98, and then plus a nasty slider, and that was 3 years ago. So I know fans love to bring up 2023 and the playoffs, and like we are looking at the third season since then. We've missed the playoffs twice since then.
Yeah, so definitely, I mean, I do think that if this is the Ginkle we're going to continue seeing, I can understand, being like, oh, they can't pitch in close games, but we at least know that they have done it. Sometimes pitchers need to go through adjustments. Hopefully that's what we're seeing, but not the greatest start to the season. Definitely looking more like the 2024 and 25 Ginkle, which I feel like he hasn't even been the same since, was it against the Mets? Where did he take a comebacker off of? Was it his leg or was it his shoulder?
Yeah, no,
Was his leg? Yeah, so obviously I know the leg doesn't have to do much with it, but who knows? Maybe there is something wrong in there. Like there's a microfracture that's kind of affecting the way he's like landing and all that, or pushing off, whatever it is. I don't know. Maybe that's just cope. I mean, I still like Ginkle, but he outside of 2023, he really hasn't had the best of a career. Like 2023 is really where he so far has peaked. Outside that, it's definitely been some up and down. So who knows? Maybe that was the one off. Don't really know too much. Russell also in the chat goes to bring up a little bit later. When Gallen walked Muncy on a pitch, that was a strike to lead off the inning. I could just feel the disaster of an inning coming, and it did. Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing is this team just has this kind of condition, whether it's as D-backs fans or Arizona sports fans, just to expect the worst and just like we can't have anything good. Where it's like, yep, okay, this is gonna happen. We're about to be. This is where things unravel. This is where things kind of go astray. And I feel like 9 times out of 10, we all have that feeling confirmed within that inning, or at least within that same game and all that. Victoria in the chat here saying, why is Tori in a fresh and fit shirt in the thumbnail? Our man Josh cooked up that thumbnail. I thought it was really funny. I mean, going with the entire right-handed bullpen, the D-backs are definitely going down they're definitely going down the right side of things there. So Josh cooked up that one, and that was the inspiration because I think it was some older political person thumbnail that kind of had that. So that's where we got the inspiration. Then Russell also in there, kind of going back to what Brandon was saying about how the NBC broadcast was just absolutely insufferable. It was literally just a Dodgers stroke fest. Like, I'm pretty sure they were all just on their knees for the Dodgers. Like, yes, Daddy Dodgers. Like, I get you're back-to-back champions. I get it's the best team in baseball and all that. But like Brandon said, if you're a national broadcast, make it a little bit more, impartial. Like, you got Gonzo, you got Oral Hershiser. Both guys
Why
are
bring on Gonzo? Like, why not just have two
why
Dodger guys
why
there?
why bring on? I mean, if you're gonna be impartial, like why bring on Kershaw in general? Like that was literally just like we need either Kershaw or Hershiser. We don't need both of them, or at least get another D-back in there. Like you could probably hit up former D-back or whatever. Get so there's it's at least even. But when you have the two Dodgers and then Gonzo. Like you think even when Jordan Lawler came at his first at bat, he had to like fight to be like, can I say something on Jordan Lawler really quick? Like can I bring something up? And they're like, yeah, go ahead. And it's like, you shouldn't have to have that if it's a normal national broadcast. You should just be able to both. And it seemed like, or again, I know Oral's supposed to know more about the Dodgers, like as a Dodgers broadcaster. It feels like none of them even like gave a shit. It's like, dude, it's your job to know a little bit about what you're talking about. It's kind of like what we see in the past when people would like butcher like Perdomo's name or
Speaking
or
of,
Kettle.
they
Kettle
butchered his home run call because they were
Yeah,
talking
that was
about the
gonna bring that up.
Dodgers. They messed that call. Like, they had the I'm like, what are we doing here? This is a terrible.
I mean, it's a cool shot, but that's one of those you bring up, after the fact, like on a replay or something, but not during the actual broadcast. And then the call was literally, that might be gone. All right, it's gone. And it's like, okay, like
Kershaw's
nothing
like,
else.
oh,
This is the first,
I think that's a homer.
they went to
like
the
that's
Bob Costas
like
School of
the
National
first
Broadcasting.
the first run scored in the game, the first home run of the game, and it was a bomb too. And the best Perdomo guy was, that might be gone. Like they sounded so disappointed. I'm like, come on, like go home, like please, or you are home apparently, just because this is a home broadcast.
It's almost as bad as when Joe Davis. Like I always still think about the Tokyo series last year when Joe Davis referred because he's a Fox guy, but he's also the Dodgers main broadcaster. Otani hit that home run. He's like, "Oh, Otani, absolute moonshot!" And it wasn't even a home run, but they gave it to him, even though a fan reached over and snagged it. And I'm like, bro, holy shit! Like it just hide the bias a little bit if you're on a national broadcast, like just a little bit. Be excited for your team. Do a little fist pump like what writers have to do, like Jack and all the other D-backs writers. Like when something goes good for the D-backs, they can't be hooting and hollering in the press box. Like they do a little fist bump. They might like like shake their hands and be like yeah, like under the breath, but they're not like going crazy in there. Do that. Do it in the national broadcasts. And then once you're doing a local broadcast, go as crazy you want for your team. Like I would never want Bert or Bob on a national broadcast because I feel like they would just be absolute homers for the
Can
Diamondbacks.
you imagine Bob on a national podcast?
Bob does every now and then. At least I don't know if he has in the last couple of years, but he used to be a guy that on like some Saturdays. That's why we would get like Gonzo in the booth because Bob would have to go do like a Saturday broadcast for some whatever the Fox Saturday baseball game was, and he's not bad. But I think it's one of those where if you're gonna have somebody that normally broadcasts a like a specific team, like Joe Davis is great. I think he's a great broadcaster. I think I can't listen to him if it's any game with the Dodgers because it just glazes the Dodgers. Just like get Bob on there with any game that's not a D-backs game. I think he's a great broadcaster. But when there's gonna be clear bias with some of these like announcers, do your best to hide it or just don't get guys that are going to have clear bias with it. Like, I know they're going to know the most, but I'd rather listen to the Apple broadcast with Dontrell Willis and people not knowing about any of the teams than clearly glazing one side over the other. Like, at least let it be a neutral thing. But we could go on and on about how national broadcasts suck and how it's one of the downsides to, being on the national stage is it's just going to be rough unless you're a Dodger fan because they're all going to be talking about the Dodgers, which again, I get it, but it's also frustrating for 29 other fan bases when it's like, hey man, like we're not just in the cuck chair, like we exist. We're here playing the game too. But going on into our questions here, like I said, obviously starting off the season 0-3 isn't ideal in any start of the season, but considering the team that we went up with, and that 2 of the 3 losses were only 1-run games against the Avengers of Major League Baseball, how do we in general feel about this team so far as we're just beginning this insanely tough stretch in the first month of April, or in the first month of the season here to begin 2026?
I don't know. I don't feel great about the team. I still see him as a 75 win team. Again, once we get certain reinforcements back, maybe things will change. But I'll be curious more to see what happens with the Tigers. But the Tigers are a good team, but they're not the Dodgers. So I would feel like I would have more to say after that series, depending on how things go, because they could just end up sweeping them as well. I believe that the Padres had a pretty decent series against them. I don't know if they won. Do you know if they won the series?
Tigers took 2 or 3.
Tigers took 2 or 3.
Two or three, but
They
those
still
were
have
also
the
close as
scores.
well. They also have a couple of really close games in that series as well. But again, the main issue for me is just going to be the offense and the bullpen. The starting pitching, you're going to get what you're going to get, like three runs, 4 runs or less in about 5 innings as of right now, just because they're all in pitch counts. So you're not going to get them going too deep into the games right now. But the bullpen needs to shape up, and I know you mentioned that it's really mostly Murillo and Clark, but you can put in Loizaga in there as well. He also allowed a run. Um, and it was also Gingo. Gingo lost that game. There's 4 guys who allowed 1 run or more in that bullpen. Um, Again, like I know you mentioned the offense, but they got to be able to put these guys away. Like if you have if it's 2-0, 2-1, if you had a good bullpen, that wouldn't matter. Like when we've had a good bullpen, like we did in 23, if this team had a 1-run lead, you felt confident that Ginkel, Thompson, and Sewald were going to be able to get the job done. But as of right now, we don't have that. So a 1-run lead is just not enough. And I know with the offense, they have their issues. After the 4th inning, they just go silent. They look dead out there. Like I really don't know what happens. There's some switch that happens. In the first 3-4 innings, they are grinding at bats. They're walking a lot, making good contact, and for whatever reason, the 5th inning and onward, they're just going up there, swinging for the fences, and then the game is over right away. And you look up at the stat sheet, and you're like, oh, they didn't get a hit after the 4th inning. They sat down the next 12 or 15 or 16 guys, and that's going to be a problem if this team doesn't address it soon enough. And same with the base running. They gave up, I believe, four or 5 outs on the bases that they shouldn't have, and that could have been the difference at least a couple of days in a row. And we just can't have that. So as of right now, just too many consistencies, too many mistakes, whether it's on defense, offense, or the pitching. So there's a lot to work on. I know I'm against the whole. It's early in the season, but it's early enough that these specific issues can get fixed. The bullpen, not so much, but the offense, it will start to come around after a little bit once Gabby gets into a better rhythm. Once Corbin, he gets into more of a rhythm. So I expect some of these guys to come back and for the offense to become a lot better than we've seen it so far. But again, a lot of it comes down to coaching. Like, what are the coaches saying? Why aren't they seemingly as prepared to run the bases, but also to hit as well, after the main starting pitcher comes out. So a lot to fix, but also, again, there's some bright spots. Some guys are hitting the ball really well. Catel's off to a good start. Perdomo, Alec, even Lawler had a couple good hits. There's some guys who are looking good. It's just putting all the pieces together to become a more or less 500 team going forward, because like we mentioned, as long as you're around 500 by the deadline, you can make some moves, improve this team, and then all you need to do is just get into the playoffs. That's all you need. Then at that point, it's it's anyone's game.
Yeah, so it's definitely some areas of improvement, which we'll definitely touch on one of those or some of those areas a little bit later. But definitely some bright spots. I think the offense is definitely the area. A little bit again, it's early. Even in one of the nice things in the national broadcast, they did bring up that the offense is always going to be behind pitching at this time of the year. I know the pitchers they need to build up their arms a little bit more, but the hitters are always going to be a little bit of a slower tick. Like they're not seeing. I don't care if you go to Driveline, wherever you go with. Like you can have a machine that, we're going to see nothing but Mason Miller, fastballs or nothing but sweepers from Trinan or Camilo Doval, whatever it is. No machine can replicate the actual in-game feel, the game speed, the actual what you're seeing out of the hand, the release point and all that stuff. So definitely going to see a little bit of a lag on the hitting side of things versus pitching. So definitely need the pitching to kind of step it up here. Like we talked about, bullpen, not the worst out of the entire bullpen. Just a few of the guys that have struggled in some of the clutch situations. But at least Thompson's looked good. I know he kind of had a little bit of a rough spring, and even against the Guardians there in that exhibition game, he looked rough. But just need the entire team to just kind of I know we make fun of him for saying it all the time. So I'm gonna say it kind of in that way, but also like I get what he means. They need to flush it, just move on. Just don't worry about it anymore and go like, you know what? We didn't play that bad against the worst or the best team in Major League Baseball, the team that is like the 27% favorite or already like a 27% chance of making the World Series, which is disgusting. But yeah, so definitely I don't think as bleak as an 0-3 start would look anywhere else. Like if we're getting blown out in every one of these games, yeah, I'd be like, holy shit, it's gonna be a lot. We still have 159 games to go. I don't know if I can take that, but I don't think it'll be as bad. We'll definitely go on a streak here where we get some more of those wins racked up, and I don't think we're gonna be as worried as we are here, hopefully. But Brandon, passing on to you, my friend. Obviously, seeing how we did against the Avengers of baseball. And then what we got kind of ahead of us here with, like we talked about our last episode with like the Tigers, and the Phillies, the Mets, like the rest of the April schedule in front of us. How do you feel about this 2026 start with that schedule ahead of us and what we got to, kind of face here in the next coming weeks?
I don't feel great starting 0-3. The last time we started 0-3 was 2021, and we all know how bad of a season that was. So we had over, we had 111 losses.
So Haven Smith was our best hitter.
That was not a great season. So, but again, this is the Dodgers with over a $400 million payroll. So, and the fact is, we were competitive in these games. It's kind of like you said. Like if we had gotten blown out in these three, I wouldn't feel great. This homestand is going to be important. These 7 games, I think we got to go like 4-3, 5-2 if we can. I think that would have a lot of people excited. If we go under 500, it's this fan base is not going to be happy because you're just going to hear fire Tory. Like every Instagram, Twitter post, you're going to see so many replies of fire Tory. It should be fire Hazen. Because yet again, does not address the bullpen situation. Did not do anything. Legit, like the only things he did was minor league deals. Like Jonathan Loaizaga looked pretty good in his 2 outings. Came in some very important situations, high leverage in like the 6th and 7th inning. You don't usually see, but he had to get the job done. So, to be honest, I was hoping for at least 1 win in this series personally, but I was expecting a sweep personally, just because that lineup is pretty deadly. I mean, they kept Shohei pretty contained. I think he only had 1 hit in the series, so I'll take that. But Andy Pages killed us in game 1. Freddie Freeman batted 5th for the first time since like 2016, and he goes 3 for 3. But that's not shocking because Freddie just murders us in whatever jersey he wears. Did it with Atlanta, does it with LA.
And he's a future Hall of Famer for a reason.
Yes, he is. He's truly incredible. He just puts bat to ball. He just does what needs to get done in a clutch situation. So, yeah, not an ideal start, but and I'm usually the one that says, "Oh, it's early." I'm gonna stop that depending on what our record is at the end of the month. If we're under 500, I'll be like, "Yeah, the season's over."
I think it depends on how much under 500 though. If we're like at 2 games, okay, but if we're like 5 to 10 games, not a great look. I don't think we're gonna go on a Guardians type run that they did last year.
No, and I think they are banking too much on the 3 guys coming back. They think that's gonna really fix a lot of things, and I don't have that kind of optimism. I don't because all 3 of them are pretty much Tommy John related, and most of the time you don't bounce back from Tommy John to like 2 years really. So I don't see, I get they're really good pitchers. I personally think J Mart's not pitching this year, personally.
If we're out of it, if we're like way out of it, I wouldn't be surprised. But if we're in the race, I think, and he's healthy, I think he'll at least get some innings in the majors this year.
So, not an ideal start, but like you said, and like Tori says, just flush it and move on. Just focus on the Tigers. Take the series against the Tigers, which, based on the matchups, I think we can take 2 or 3.
Yeah, so it's definitely I know the Tigers obviously are, they're a former playoff team. They would have been defending champions of their division if it wasn't for their absolute collapse at the end of the season there. But they still got a really solid squad. I mean, Kevin McGonigal had like 4 hits on opening day, kind of showing why he's the top prospect in their, I think the number 2 prospect in the sport. So the Tigers are no slouches, but in the nicest way possible, they're not the Dodgers. Like they're no team is the Dodgers. Like the fact that the Dodgers in these games, like when you have Max Muncy hitting in like the 7-hole, like Andy Pajes, who like Andy Pajes, like he's a really solid player, man. He's a really solid player. He's one of their top prospects. I know the Dodgers' top prospects can always be a little bit overinflated when it comes to comparing like them versus other teams, but I mean he was defensively really clutch in the playoffs last year. Offensively, last year in the regular season, he had a breakout campaign. I mean, last year he hit at a 461 slug, with 774 OPS. So like that's really solid hitter to have as your 9-hole hitter compared to us having, Jorge Barrosas of the world as our 9-hole hitter. Like they're just an offense.
He did have a double.
He did have a double. Yes, he did have a double. Which again, I'm going to be as nice as I can to Barossa this year. If he can turn around, then I will eat all my words from the past. But the fact that you have a guy like Andy Pajes like in the bottom end of your lineup. I know Miguel Rojas, but I mean we can't even fucking get Miguel Rojas out. Even Kyle Freeland. Like when you have the top like Otani, Tucker, Betts, Smith, Freeman, and then like when Teoscar Hernandez is your 6-hole hitter, do you know the team is having a Teoscar Hernandez as their 6-hole hitter? So definitely not going to be facing the same quality of team. And then especially, I mean, that Dodgers bullpen shut us down this entire season or this entire series. Not a single run scored against that Dodgers bullpen. It's literally the Avengers of baseball. So kind of like what Brandon said, not surprised by the sweep. Obviously, it would have been ideal to at least win one and avoid getting swept. But I think overall the fact that at least 2 of the games were close, which could be copium, could be whatever you want to say. I think it at least gives us a little bit of something to hold on to going into the home opener, which, home opener, get to see the brand new, at least I get to see the brand new scoreboard for the first time. I know you guys were there at the Fan Fest. It's just an entirely new crowd. The nice thing about it being against the Tigers is I don't know if there's as big of a Tiger fan base in here as when the Cubs opened up last year for opening day, or when like the Padres are here, like when the Yankees are here, where I don't think the stadium will be taken over by Tiger fans. Like I definitely think there will be some there, but I think it's going to be a good majority Dbacks fans. So hopefully the place is loud, the place is rocking, has some great energy, and we get to see. I would love to get, I don't know if you guys saw, a quick tangent for our second topic. Did you guys see the CB Buckner in the Reds game yesterday? The amount of times, like in one at bat, Gino back-to-back pitches challenged like CB Buckner. Again, they're close. Called strike 3, Gino immediately challenges it. The crowd goes crazy. They start to like, whoa. Well, then the very next pitch goes for exactly another challenge once again after another called strike 3, overturns it once again into a full count, and the crowd just going absolutely crazy. I think they had 5 successful challenges against CB Buckner in that game in general. Like I want to have one of those that just like in a clutch situation gets the crowd juiced, gets the momentum flipped around, and that'd be just fun to see it in person on the big screen. But we'll have to just hope for some better performances tomorrow and at least get our first win of the season at home in front of a big D-backs crowd. But I know we kind of touched on it a little bit, but looking at this entire series and like some of the names, like I said, whether it's offensively, defensively, who stood out to you the most here? Maybe a certain name that you at least wanted to give your flowers to more than maybe one of the other ones. Like, again, we lost all 3 of these, but if there was an quote-unquote MVP for either one of these games or of the series, who would have been in your mind? Like somebody that you were like, we lost all 3 of these, but this person really gives me some hope as we, go for the next 159 games.
I'm gonna throw a weird one out there. That's Erod. We've been talking about him just being an absolute bane on the existence as D-backs fans, but the fact that he went out there and shoved against the Avengers that were Team USA, excuse me, and then coming back and then doing the same thing to the Dodgers, where you're kind of like, okay, like, is it just that he shows up in these big high pressure situations? Like, is there something to the fact that he's facing these all-star type guys that just makes him take that extra step forward and makes him just be a really good pitcher? Like, he got taken out, I think, early, obviously, with the pitch count and everything, but he probably could have got another inning. probably could have just been a 6 innings, maybe one earned run at that point. But he looked really good. All of his pitches were working for him, and something we've talked about for the last couple of seasons with him is just the command. Like if he's able to get the command of some of those pitches, like he's going to be deadly. And it seems like hopefully we're finally seeing it. He got into shape. He lost 25 pounds. One of the biggest issues that he's had here is just being healthy. Like he hasn't started the season off healthy or stayed healthy. So he's starting off healthy this season. He looks healthy. He looks thinner. Hopefully this should be a pretty big turnaround. He can be, what he was in Detroit or with Boston, like a really, really good, solid number 3 guy. We talked about him being a 5 guy, but if he's pitching like this, then if you slot him in number 3, right behind, as the season goes on, maybe Corbin Burns, Gallen, and then Erod, and then Merrill Kelly, or vice versa, whatever that might be, you're looking at potentially one of the better rotations in baseball. And again, you just need to add some supplementary guys here and there, and suddenly you have a pretty damn good rotation. And so for me, it is Erod, again, one of the best lineups in the sport, if not the best lineup in the sport that we've ever seen. So the fact that he was able to dominate them the way he did, I think is, speaks true volume to what he can do for the season, and what I hope he continues to do for the season, because God knows we need him.
Yeah, so maybe that's one of the nice things about having him be the only lefty, is these teams are so expected seeing things out of the the right-handed release point that a lefty just throws them completely out of whack. Not sure, but yeah, so definitely deserves to have his flowers. I know if our man, I'm forgetting. He nicknamed him Elrod. He always has the greatest names for our players.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if he was in here, he would
Scott.
Yeah, Scott. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, sorry for forgetting your name for a second there, Scott. It's been a long weekend. But yeah, like if Scott was in here, I know, like, and again, rightfully so. What we've seen from him so far in his D-backs career has been deserving of criticism, especially for the money he's getting. But when we criticize him, I think we should rightfully give him the flowers, and I think he definitely has earned his flowers for this performance again, especially going up against that team, doing what no other D-back starter was able to go, and actually go into the 5th inning and beyond. So definitely deserved it there. And if there's any kind of pitching performance, I can see why he was the one that stood out the most. But Brandon, going to you, my friend, after seeing, like, is you kind of in the same boat as Gabe? Did he look into your brain and steal the same pick as you, or is there somebody else that you kind of had that you wanted to give your flowers to as quote unquote like the MVP of like this series, or maybe one of the games or so?
I wouldn't say he's an MVP, but it's the weakest link in our team, and it's the bullpen. I was really impressed with Jonathan Loaisiga. And in the 2 outings that he had, he came in and he did a really, really good job. Like high leverage situations there in the middle of the game, and I believe it was games 2 and 3. He came in and he looked really, really good. He minor league deal. He signed into camp on a minor league deal, looked really good in spring, and has so far looked really good to start the season. And we're gonna need that. We need somebody in this bullpen that we feel safe and content with when they come in. And so far for me, it's Jonathan Loaisiga. Also, Perdomo looked really good, but that's the easy pick. Played really good defense. Made a spectacular diving play, and I think it was Betts he threw out. So fantastic play. Like he's just showing that last year wasn't a fluke. Can he be a 7-WAR player again? I think so. He did have one little mess up there on Thursday, getting thrown out at second base there to end the first inning. So that was a bit of a bummer. But that was, like, I get what he was trying to do. So he was just trying to get into scoring position with 2 outs. So, but yeah, I would say Loaisiga for me stood out the most in this series.
He had a pretty solid debut. I know the earned run, or the run that he led up, was an inherited run, so that's where the one earned run for Erod came from. So technically he did allow a run, just not on his record. But yeah, so he was a definitely one of the more interesting names in the offseason. I mean, we even talked about throughout the offseason that he was really solid for the Yankees. His big issue, kind of like what Gabe said with Erod, same with Loizaga, that the big issues with him has just always been health and actually being able to be available and be able to pitch. Where if we can get the healthy Loizaga, I think that kind of like the Gallen thing, it could be a good thing or a bad thing. If he does really well, we're like, heck yeah, man! Like that was a clutch pitcher to have this entire season. Probably gonna go sign with some new team for 2-3 years for 10 million because we won't even pay a reliever more than, hey, here's a couple gift cards to Fogo de Chao. Here's your 6-pack for March Madness paid for. Like we appreciate your time. Thank you very much, sir. Because that seems like kind of the only money that we divvy out to any kind of relievers nowadays. And even our resident super troll, or super Dodgers troll in here, Cruz, saying that y'all need some left-handed reliever. Uncle Rico is a free agent. At this point, Uncle Rico might even be better than Juan Murillo. I don't know. I don't know. If it's a lefty, fucking go see if Randy Johnson can go out of the bullpen and relive his 0-1 World Series performance again. Fuck it. Go hit him mad bum. He's not officially retired. Be like, hey, Madison, we're not going to pay you much money anyway, but I don't know, lefty, who knows? Yeah, I don't know. I mostly just joking, but it's definitely an area that they're going to need to address at some point. Which I know they're waiting on Brandon Garcia, maybe Philip Abner to kind of prove themselves at Reno and deserve that call up. So I don't think we're going to go the entire season without a lefty, but man, it's definitely not going to be a fun experience so far in the first couple weeks here, as we're going to face a lot of daunting lefties that we've kind of already touched on in one of our last podcasts. But say Loizaga, Erod, definitely some guys that stood out this series and left one of the better tastes in our mouths after the base running, the lack of offense in the middle of the lineup in the middle of the game, Murillo, Ginkel kind of shitting the bed when they got the opportunity. But at least there's some positive that we can walk away from this series with. So going on to our final question here, at least before we get into our series preview on the Tigers coming up, is what does this team need to focus on the most when it comes to improving an aspect of their play? Whether it's offensively, defensively, base running, what do they need to make sure that they kind of tighten up a little bit? Again, only 3 games in the season. There's still a lot of things that they're going to need to improve on as the season goes. But after what we've seen here in just the first series, what do you kind of have in your mind as the biggest area that needs to be addressed here going into this next series?
There's the main obvious ones, like just offense in general and the pitching. But for me, it's the base running. Like I mentioned earlier, 4 outs that they gave away to the Dodgers, and that was the difference in a couple of these games. Like I know Thomas, he did make the slide into third base. He did get there. He came off the bag. He's mentioned that he should have done a better slide. If he did a better slide, he'd be on base with 2 outs, and at that point, you hopefully would just get a single, bring him in. Completely different game. Same with I believe it was earlier in that same game with Pavin being sent home again. It's not Pavin exactly, but like he was out by a mile. Like that's what made it even funnier. It's like, come on, like that wasn't even close. But stuff like that, Jordan Lawler getting picked off. Again, great play by Freddie Freeman, but with any ball like that, Jordan Lawler, at least with his speed, he shouldn't be that far off the bag or something like that. He should have been a lot closer, should have been running back. Because if it gets through, even if he ran back to the bag to tag it, he still would have made it to home with his speed. So it was kind of unnecessary for him to take that big of a lead. But then just some of this defense, like I guess Santana, he's been pretty good. Like he's been getting these balls and everything, but he just hasn't been making the actual play on some of these things. There's like the one to Erod. There's also the one that he kind of booted. That was the Max Muncy one where they scored. So it's about 2 or 3 runs I've scored because of Santana not fully making the play. Again, it's not very easy, but for a first baseman of his caliber, he should be able to make those plays. Like you've seen Nolan Arenado just look just unconscious out there with how he's getting these balls. So when you have a guy like at third base that's doing all that, then it is something where you're kind of like, we supposedly went for defense with Santana, and it's like we might as well have just gotten Goldie and played him every day like he wanted to, because at this point Santana has played every day, so it wouldn't have been much different. At least we've gotten at least some offense from Goldie and about the same overall defense. Again, just might take some time, first 3 games, but so far I think for me it's the base running and the defense, because that's what's going to make these tight games go one way or the other. The Dodgers played flawlessly, and I know the a lot of it was the bullpen, but you can't give extra chances to teams. Whether it's if they if you make an error, you can't give them extra chances, and on the base pass, you can't give them free outs because you bailed them out at that point. And Yamamoto, I believe, was closing on 60 pitches when they got doubled off, and that just kind of ruined the rest of the strategy against him. Like he could have been out in that third inning, but instead he ended up going six.
Yeah, even in opening day, and I know on the national broadcast that first inning, like D-backs put up a lot of great ABs. I know Cattell opened up the game with like a 10+ pitch at bat. Then Perdomo, after his base hit, did get caught stealing second. Where even the broadcast was like, I don't know, I would have kept going. Like you already had Yamamoto into like the 21, 22 pitch range in that first inning alone, and Gabby looked like he was going to continue putting up a pretty solid at bat. So I know that one's could be, again, that's part of the D-backs the way they're built is, creating chaos on the bases. I know Perdomo can swipe some bags here and there, but I do think that even you could throw that one in there as a potential, base running blunder on, whether that was his fault or kind of like with the JR House setting Pavin home, more on the coaching. Like, maybe McKay at first base told him to go. Maybe he got the sign to steal, so it's not his fault. But things like that. And then even Jordan Lawler in that game against Yamamoto, he got that double. I don't know if you guys remember that play from Mookie Betts when Tim Tawa hit the ball in the hole. Mookie Betts made a really nice play. He almost backpicked Jordan Lawler there. I know that's definitely more on Mookie Betts making a really heads up play, but it's also one of those where as a player you see him make the make the play, go back to the bag. If the ball's thrown over, then depending on a ricochet, you might have enough time to get all the way to third. But he was this close to getting backpicked on a play that, again, more on Mookie Betts being heads up in that situation. But you just got to keep a head on a swivel. You got to be ready for anything. And definitely not as clean as we want to see this base running go. But it's definitely an area that, again, I think they can easily improve. And it's not something impossible. It just seems like it's always, we go through stretches. I mean, we saw this in even 2024 at the beginning of the season when we opened up the season against the Yankees, and I think it was the Rockies that year, where there's definitely a lot of base running mistakes in that first couple series that we were like, what team is this? This is not the 2023 D-backs who were aggressive but played smart on the base paths. They're just kind of out there sometimes making some boneheaded mistakes, and I feel like we've seen a little bit too much so far. Again, it's only 3 games, like we already said. It can be addressed, but I would agree with you. That's the area that I would definitely hope for some improvement here going into this Tiger series. But Brandon, passing on you, my friend, are you in agreement with both of us? Do you think that the base running is the biggest area that they need to kind of focus on and make sure they have honed a little bit more going ahead of the season, or is there a different aspect of the Diamondbacks play that you think that they should focus on a little bit more?
No, I'm right there with you guys there. Base running, it doesn't matter what time of year it is. Base running blunders drive me freaking nuts because it's the fundamentals. It's the simple things that cost you games. That play where Lawler got thrown out at second on that. Freeman's 6'5". This is just not fair. Anybody else, I'm pretty sure that's a hit down the line and Lawler scores easily, so he really should have froze there to make sure. And I think he just assumed that the ball was going to get by and he'd be able to score easily, and he was way off the bag. So base running is I'm wondering if that's why he didn't get to play on Saturday. Is it just seems that they hold him to a different standard than other players. He makes one mess up, and he gets sat for a couple of games. So I'm really hoping that he does get to play tomorrow. I think he's just better in everything over Jorge Barrosa. I know Barrosa's probably a better defender, but Jordan Lawler, I think. He almost had I thought he hit a home run on Friday. I really did. I thought he got the sound of the ball coming off the bat. I really thought he got it. But I also think offense needs to be more consistent. You cannot score early and then, like Gabe said, go 15, 16 retired in a row. You can't do that in this game because you are going to lose. Because then you're going to be pressing hard there late in the game. So I'm hoping offense is more consistent, whether that's scoring 5 early or whether it's one run in the first, one in the third, two in the fourth, two in the fifth, like just something like that. Like just be more consistent. Show up to the game as a whole and not in spurts. I thought defense was pretty decent. I think Santana just made the one blunder there with the bobbled ball with Erod. But if Erod gets off the mound a little bit more quickly, I think they still make that play. Like he just gets it, and it was weird. I thought it was a single. I scored it on my personal scoring as a single, and then later I found out they gave Santana the error. I'm like, oh, really? Because he bobbled the ball a little bit? I was like, okay.
They'll give Santana an error right there, but they won't give an error to O'Neal Cruz for either of those two horrible plays in center field for the Pirates.
Those were so bad,
dude. Like, that was atrocious. Like the second I saw him
singles, it ruined Skeen's ERA. It's gonna take him 6 weeks to fix that ERA, which he can. He's that good.
Yeah, and it was only one inning, so it only really takes, like if it was an entire start, like it kind of makes your ERA a little rough. But yeah, dude, that's
like 67, by the way.
Yeah, it's man. But yeah, say I can see why they would have given the error, but I do think that even if it's not just us, I think all D-backs fans can be in agreement. Just even Torey Lovello and all that, we're all in agreement. This base running needs to be cleaned up a little bit. It's like Brandon said, it's the fundamentals that can be so frustrating when you see guys that are getting paid hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars to do. It's like, hey man, the fundamentals, like the things you literally practice in spring training, the things that you should basically have burned in the back of your head. What are you doing?
Finished, by the way.
Yeah, like you just finished. Like they should be fresh in your brain, if anything. But it's. Again, I think that, again, going up, I know Mookie Betts said it a couple years ago, that, like, this is going to be, maybe it was last offseason, whatever it is, where every game against the Dodgers is going to be every team's World Series. And, like, I wouldn't necessarily say that, but I do think that every team does want to, play their best baseball against them, and sometimes, can get in their own heads and forget the fundamentals. Because, you got to play perfect baseball if you want to beat this team, like a team this good. Like you can't have any mistakes, and if you do, you got to try to make up for those mistakes the next inning or as quickly as possible. But if you let those mistakes kind of build up and you don't capitalize on the opportunities you do get, like when that team themselves makes a mistake or two, like you're not going to win at this level. Like you can do those kind of things, like again, ideally not at all, but you can get away with those things against like the Rockies, and maybe like the Marlins, some of the weaker teams, which. Again, you don't want it at all, but you can't have it happen against the Dodgers because they will make you pay and they will make it hurt. But any final thoughts you guys had on whether it's something you want to circle back on or anything in general that you haven't touched on? Any final thoughts on this Dodger series before, like I said, we pull a Torey Lovello and we flush it and we move on?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad we can finally move on from that awful series and then try to at least get one win in the win column here. As like I said, tomorrow the home opener for the Arizona Diamondbacks is going to be against the good old Detroit Tigers, which I'm always excited. Like I know it's technically opening day has already came and went, but any home opener is always just one of my favorite times. I mean, I love getting to go to the ballpark for the first time in the year. The energy, the crowds being or the lines being introduced, just it's the feeling of a brand new season, and we can just all be excited. So it's a 7:10 game time tomorrow. I think 4:30 is when gates open for season ticket holders, right?
Yep.
Is that what you said, Brandon, in the email? Yeah. So 4:30 if you're a season ticket holder. 5:30 if you're not. If there's at 5 or 5:30 if you don't have, I'm not sure. But either way, the gates should open a little bit sooner than they would be. So going down to Chase Field, if you can get the day off, like I already got it cleared with my boss. I got the day off, so I'm going to be good to go. Get down as early as you can. Enjoy the atmosphere because it's honestly, whether you're excited for the team after this 0-3 start or you're already doom and gloom and ready, just to pack it on in. Either way, opening day is always one of the best things you can go to in general, and I'm excited about it. Hope to see you guys there. I know all three of us will be there. So like I said in one of our last shows, if you see us, shout us out, add us, tag us, run up to us, whatever it is. We'd love to meet you guys. But the D-backs go into the home opener as we have good old Canadian legend Michael Soroka taking the bump for his D-backs debut in the regular season, going up against a longtime and future Hall of Famer, or longtime Tiger, future Hall of Famer in Justin Verlander, aka Kate Upton's husband. As I know it's not the Verlander of past, but hey, even last year with the Giants, I think that was the game where Brandon fought with like 9 innings with like no runs allowed. I think we struggled to even do anything against Verlander then. So
3 hits.
hope yeah, hopefully it's not the same Verlander as that day, but hey, the guy's still a solid pitcher, so definitely not going to be any slouch in any rollover game. Then it goes to Tuesday. It's going to be a former number one pick in the MLB draft, Casey Mize, taking the bump for the Tigers against our good old postseason legend, Brandon Pfaadt. So hopefully he can start off his 2026 campaign a little bit better than kind of how he was seeing in 2025. As long as he doesn't throw a yes hitter, I think it's a win in our book. So Tuesday will be a nice pitching matchup there. Some really solid stuff for Mize, Brandon Pfaadt. Hopefully we can see him um, definitely get off to a hot start here because that's what we need. And then Wednesday, the Tigers do have to be decided scheduled as their starter. That should line up to be Tarek Skubal's start. So not confirmed yet, but it should be Tarek Skubal going up against good old Zach Gallen. So Zach Gallen going to make his first home start of the season. Obviously, there's no ERAs for anybody except for the pitchers pitching on Wednesday, so it's not like we've seen anything else like we can normally go off of, like maybe recent performances for some of these pitchers. But seeing these pitching matchups, seeing kind of what we have on the schedule here coming up in this 3 game set, what are some potential predictions, like whether it's the series overall, like, we win 2-3, we sweep, we get swept, all that. Maybe what's your predictions on that? Maybe a couple predictions on, who's going to have a certain performance. For me, I think we're going to see Jordan Lawler hit his first home run of the season. I'd love to see them, especially against Justin Verlander. That's my hot pick. I think we're going to get to see the first Lawler bomb of his career. But I'm curious to see what you guys have as your, thoughts, predictions, and maybe just ideas of how this team can get right here against this series against the Tigers.
I actually had that one too, Jordan Lawler off of Verlander, just because I'm assuming the roof is going to be open, and when the roof is open, the ball just flies. And he had a couple of really hard hits against Glasnow, or who was it against?
He
Yamamoto.
Yamamoto. Also, Thomas, just because again he's also barreling up the ball, just not able to get out. But with the roof open here, and it's not as expansive as Dodger Stadium is, so I have both of them hitting home runs during this
I'm sorry,
series.
Uniqlo Field at Dodger Stadium.
Uniqlo Field at Dodger Stadium, yes, at Chavez Ravine.
God, what
But
a horrible name.
yeah, I have both of them, having pretty big series. Overall, I do see them losing 2 games out of this, just until they show me otherwise. Offensively and the bullpen, I do have them just kind of losing the sort of flip of a coin type series, because I do think they're relatively evenly matched. I just think the Tigers just have a better bullpen overall. So until the team shows that they can score more consistently, and until the bullpen shows that they can be relatively consistent, I do have them taking 2 out of 3 against the D-backs. I think they're going to be close. They should be a lot more fun. There's probably not going to be as well, of course, that's it. Things go the way they did at Dodger Stadium. You're always waiting for that big hit from the Dodgers that always seem to come. So I don't think it's going to be the same. I think it's probably going to be a lot more hard fought, hopefully, especially being home. But I do have them, losing and dropping the series.
Yeah, I kind of on the same page at least of got to be shown whatever it takes. Like I think they have the potential to at least win 2 of the 3, and it's definitely those first 2 because unless they surprise me, I don't see us hitting Tarek Skubal really as much. I know pitchers can always have a bad game. I mean, look at what Skeen's opening day, but I'm not confident. I don't think we're going to sweep, but I think that there's a possibility of them at least winning the 2 of the 3. But glad we're both on the same page on Jordan Lawler. I think it'd be great to just see him get his first home run of his major league career at home off of a future Hall of Famer. I think that'd just be a nice moment in general. And I think that'd be one of those where, not to be one of those guys, but it can be like the hey, told you so, told you so, not to give up on this guy too early. But Brandon, what about you, my friend? Passing on to you, what are your thoughts on overall, like, who's going to win the series, results on the series in general, and maybe prediction or two on maybe a certain player or a specific moment that you could see happen.
I also was on the train of Jordan Lawler gets his first career home run. I wasn't thinking Verlander, but I still think he's going to get his first career home run in this series. I think he almost had one. I want to say Friday. It was a deep fly ball. It sounded good, but it was kind of windy that day at Chavez Ravine, so it kind of knocked it down. I don't know how this series is gonna go. I'm hoping offense just balls out for all 3 games and we take 2 or 3. That like I think taking 2 or 3 would make me feel a lot better because they'd be 2 and 4, so that'd be a lot better. They get swept again, it's gonna get ugly. It will get incredibly ugly. Like they'll be 0-6, and then they got 4 against Atlanta coming up, and then like this tough schedule. Like it's gonna be hard if they get swept again. So at minimum, they have to win at least one. I think 2 would definitely put a lot of people at ease, saying, "Oh, it was the Dodgers." So like, don't put too much stock into that. Taking 2 or 3 from the Tigers, who did really well against Seattle in the playoffs last year. Um, Scooble potentially pitching is going to be interesting. By the way, Kevin McGonigal is the truth. He had 4 hits in his major league debut.
I told you guys last episode to keep an eye out for Kevin McGonigal when he comes to town.
So it's just he's truly special. Like he is definitely the front runner for AL Rookie of the Year.
He's unless his Max Clark does a Nicholas Kurtz and comes up and just hits like 30 bombs. I don't think anybody's going to be beating him out on that one.
Yeah. So, but I need offense to do a lot of scoring because this bullpen, I don't trust it. This bullpen scares me. I'm sorry. You cannot have at least one lefty. Like that, like Mike Hazen, what are you doing? Like, I know you guys like some of these guys that have reverse splits, like Juan Murillo, Jonathan Lowe, Weiziga, but I'm sorry, you need at least one lefty.
Yeah, like you can't just have all righties the entire season.
Kerry Bonds destroys right-handed pitching. He destroys right-handed pitching.
Yeah.
So, I still don't understand the choice. It didn't really work out in our favor because Kyle Tucker made some insane, ridiculous defensive plays, by the way. Robbed Alec of a fantastic hit yesterday. Robbed. I don't know if that Perdomo fly ball last night goes out. I don't. If it does, it's like in the first row and their wall's 4 feet high. So, my bold prediction is we take 2 or 3.
Hey, we'd all be happy with that. It definitely, like you said, a lot more comfortable going 2-4. But minimum 1 win. If you get swept, then it's. I don't think we'll be very happy as we sit back here in our seats, whether it's Wednesday or Thursday. I don't think any of us will be. Probably would be Wednesday because we start the 4-gamer against the Braves on Thursday. So I don't think any of us would really be happy. But hey, you know what? Fingers crossed. Just, I don't know, perform a little bit better for us. Give us something to be excited about. Get us that first win because, as the games go on, if you keep, losing, I feel like players are going to keep on pressing. They're going to keep trying, like overly trying to, be the hero of the game and, be the guy that wins the game with one swing. And we've seen how that goes in the past where at times it's like, we don't need you to be the hero. Just do what we know you can do. Just play. Just get the next man up. Keep that mentality rolling, and you'll eventually wind up with a win. But just get the first one out of the way, get the monkey off their back, and then we can continue rolling on here throughout the season or throughout the rest of this month here, and hope for the best that they can turn around and not be in an absolute 6-foot grave before we even turn on over into May. But I know our man Scott Mack here is joining us at the very end. Welcome, Scott. Always a pleasure to see you. I know, surprisingly, we did not see Elrod last night, which is, I know, a nice surprise for a lot of us, but he does say below average pen. Jack Summers is right, and then Santana and Arenado are dead weights, which I know Gabe kind of brought up a little bit earlier. Definitely, it's still early, but definitely not a... We knew we'd be getting a lack of offense. I think with Arenado having a strong spring, I was hoping that maybe we'd get a little bit of a bounce back, but after 3 games, not the most excited about what we're seeing, but... Either way, again, what we're seeing against the Dodgers, I'm hoping that these guys can have a couple of bats and, kind of just everybody in the lab in general, have this be a series where they can, all provide a little bit of a spark to each other and, get on the right track again. But, only time will tell. you never know. Baseball's an insane sport. Not always the best team wins at every single outing. So hopefully we can at least be the victorious team, whether we're the best team or not. As long as we can be the victorious team at least once or twice in the series, I will be very happy going into that Braves series. But the best place to be for any discussion on D-backs in general, especially after that Braves or that Tiger series, is here at D-backs Dispatch. So again, appreciate you guys all tuning in. Any other final thoughts, gentlemen, on anything in general? Maybe, like I said, going back to the Dodger series or just anything in general D-backs related that you wanted to touch on before we get out of here?
No.
Nope.
Heck yeah. Well, an exciting, fun weekend. Whether we win or lose, I'm just excited that real baseball is back. Always giving me something to watch every single day. And we will be back with you guys after the Tiger series to discuss that series. So make sure you guys follow us on all socials, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, especially like I said earlier on Twitter. Gabe is already cooking up some absolute bangers. So make sure you guys follow us on Twitter for those in-game reactions and all that fun stuff. So you can, even in the more frustrating times, have a little bit of a laugh, because we all need a little bit of a laugh in some of those more frustrating moments that we have. Make sure you guys go follow us or join the Discord as well. It should be in the description. Whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, whatever it is, it should be in there. The link is always open. Join it if you have somebody else in your life that has a Discord, or you think that would enjoy the Discord. Help them create a Discord, send them the link, have them hop in. Would love to have you guys join in there and get your thoughts on the D-backs, anything we discuss here in general, or just your thoughts on the team throughout the season. And then, as always, go over to azsnakepit.com. Check out the daily articles over there. There's dozens. There's a great community. Get an account started up. Hop in the comment section. Go in some of those threads. It's the best place to be if you're a fan of D-backs baseball. So like I said, azsnakepit.com is the place for you. In the meantime, you guys all have a fantastic rest of your Sunday, or if you're listening to us after the fact, you guys have a great rest of your Monday, and we see you guys on the next episode of D-backs Dispatch. Take care.
Under the lights, the game goes down. Desert heat, but we own this town. Brett and Gabe on the call, with Josh in the back, bringing it